Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Is this working? So I need to switch on. Okay. Yes, eventually. Good afternoon. My name is Max Ciferri. I teach operations here at Turin, and I'm also a consultant. The good news is that I'm the last presenter, and so I'm sure you're very glad. I'm sorry, Mike. Just to liven up the atmosphere. I will try and bring you a little bit of a different perspective on the topic, especially having worked for over 20 years in multinational companies. I would like also to share with you what happens when you actually have to make decisions based on data and based on evidence. So I will try and talk about three different topics. The first one is I will give you an overview of a very simple tool that we developed that allows you to get data at your fingertips in a company. This is a pricing waterfall, similar to the concept that Jerome Couturier showed to you, and I'm working with him. This is a way to get to data very quickly and to work with top management to make decisions. So we got the data down from the company. We worked on it for about 2 to 3 months with someone who wasn't even a computer programmer, someone who was sufficiently skilled with IT. And we came up with using an evolution of business intelligence tools, so something more dynamic, which allows for easy interaction and easy exchange of data. We came up with a number of insights that the company is now working on. So if I click on this, and I'm sure I will have to go like this because that's the best way to work. The mouse, unfortunately, doesn't work with this kind of thing. So if I click on products, here I have all of a sudden I hear my performance for business unit 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 1 year over the other. Business unit 1 is doing slightly better. We took out all of the names, but the numbers and the business units are relevant. The beauty of the tools is that now this is not a hyperlink because it was very difficult and the database is very big and it was difficult to put it on a laptop. But you can actually work with this and if you click on business unit 1, you immediately start seeing your data live in terms of your margin contribution. So if I start looking at my overall sales, I look at all the different discounts, I look at the net sales, I look at the cost of goods sold, and I look at the margin. And then I have a breakdown of, well, I gave a bigger discount in 2012 compared to 2011. How is discount broken into? And all of a sudden, I have all the different kinds of discount here at my fingertips. So great tool if I want to do analysis because I start to see where my discounts are and where my performance is. And then I can start looking at, okay, but what about the customer contribution? And as usual, you find out that if you look at, here we have 24 customers, and you look at the bottom here, in terms of the margin, they account for almost 20% of the margin. And as the Pareto analysis, you look at 60% of your customers, and they account for about 20% of your margin. So all of a sudden you think, okay, now I've got a clear idea as to which customers are profitable and which customers are less profitable. I go back and I can start to drill down. So now I can start with by brand group. So I do one level down, and same for the brand groups. If I look at brand group number 2, I've got the time period, same time period, and I've got, again, pricing waterfall with the discounts and the margins. And here again, I can look at the customer contribution, and again, I see that a large chunk of my customers are not actually that profitable. Then I want to go one level further, and I look at product groups, which is the third level in the hierarchy. I get a similar story, and I look at the pricing waterfall of product group number 1, and here again, I do the customer contribution, and again, a similar story in terms of profitability. I can drill further down. I get the price waterfall for product 1, and then we go to the SKU level, if you want the finest level of detail in this kind of analysis, where I get the same kind of view and the same kind of data. So as a marketing leader, as a business leader, all of a sudden I can look at the data and find stuff that I can discuss with my team. The beauty of these tools today is that they can be easily used, and you can actually do simulations live. So you can, here you cannot see it, but I can click on any of this on these histograms and drill down at the level of detail that I designed. So you do real life simulation scenarios right there with your team, and you decide which decision to take and which decision not to take. So today, getting access to data is no longer an issue. Crunching data is no longer an issue. And you don't need people with a high level of expertise. So the first message to the younger crowd is that you can use these tools, and at one point you will hit the wall and you will probably need someone who's an expert, but you can do probably 70 to 80% of this analysis yourselves, even if you're not a computer scientist, which is great because it really gives the power of the analysis in the hands of the users. And then we can continue, we'll just keep, and then you can do the same things for the accounts, for the customers, and you get to a pretty good view. So now you're the CEO, you're the marketing leader, and you've got all of this data presented to you by the analysts, and you're all excited, and what do you do next? So now I have everything I want. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I've got all the data that I want. This is great. I've been banging on the head of IT, on the door of IT for years. I didn't get the data. Now I don't have to deal with them. I can outsource them, and I can do my own thing. I can segment data by customer segmentation, the holy grail of marketing. I can do it myself. I don't need to ask for anybody else's advice. I can do it by product. By region, by key account. I can do correlations and find hot bundles. Everybody who went to the moon has eaten chicken. Good grief, chicken makes you go to the moon. So you remember the Aristotle's logic. And I can do it myself, real time. I can actually do the analysis. I can get an analyst, get the data from the IT department, and do everything I want. So the sky's the limit. It really is the limit. There is no limitation today to the analysis that you can actually make. You can do it yourself, or you can go to big companies that will do it even more sophisticated analysis for you. You getting access to data and analysis is no longer an excuse. So the sky is the limit. And this is the biggest challenge in big data, is that the sky is the limit. Is that where do you stop and where do you actually make decisions? So how do I quench the insatiable thirst for analysis and focus on making good decisions? Because what we have heard today in a number of outstanding presentations is the ability to gather data, infer evidence, and present a picture that most people were not aware of until you actually analyze the data. So it's a fantastic job in terms of presenting the picture. How do I make it to decisions then? I can ask my colleagues. So if you are a marketing leader, you can go and talk to your colleagues and say, does this make sense? Should we go this direction? Should we make this decision? And usually if you talk to finance, the question that finance you get is, well, who's paying for this? If you talk to operations, the logic is who's actually going to manage it. If you talk to compliance, the question is often too risky. And if you talk to HR, maybe this is the question you get, which I'm sure my friends in HR will not be very happy, but it's just it's one of it has been my experience that often I found myself trying to explain what we've been doing for the last few years. So in the end, it's about leadership. It's about you being in front of your team with the evidence, and it's about making the right decisions. You must present your case with accurate, insightful data which conveys an accurate picture. And this is a point that for me is vital. What I've seen in the companies that I've worked with is that there's a lot of analysis and then there's decision making. So you do the analysis and then you make the decisions. But there's one step in the middle which is often forgotten, and that is you actually interpret the data. I have sat in meetings where I was banging, as a chief operating officer, banging on the door of the sales director, with evidence, and the sales director will look at the numbers and say, this is not correct. I said, what do you mean it's not correct? It's not correct. In July, this cannot happen because seasonality is such that this is not the case in July. Go back and look at the numbers. And of course, I thought, whatever. We went back and we looked at the numbers, and in this case, he was right. He had this amazing 20+ years of experience, ability to look at the data, interpret it, and make it relevant. So the first message is, in order to be credible when you analyze the data, you must be able to also interpret it. It's not sufficient to analyze data and then to make decisions. And in order to make insightful decisions, you need to have domain knowledge. You need to have accumulated knowledge over years in a specific industry, which allows you to show up with data, and with credibility and with data in your hands, you can advocate in terms of making decisions. If for those of you who have read the 9/11 report on the Twin Towers, all of the evidence was there, all of it, and was pretty clear. And in the end, afterwards, it was easy for everybody to join the dots. If you read the report, you said to yourself, why didn't people get it? Well, the reality is they didn't get it. Someone didn't connect the dots, or the information was overseen. Whenever you look at things such as crisis or wars, the information is available. It's just that it gets forgotten, or it does not get considered. So, in order to come to this level, you need to accumulate sufficient levels of domain knowledge so that you can advocate forcefully. How do I present the data? Often, I've seen data presented in gigantic spreadsheets with one number at the bottom right, which was the critical number. And you spend hours trying to figure out what was the relevant number. So I can present data like this. I can do a heat map. I can do then, I don't get anything with this map. So also the way you portray, you present the data is fundamental. You need to be credible. You need to have good data, and you need to be able to present it in a way which is insightful. So the section option, maybe this is a little better. Maybe you can present it in a format that has sufficient graphs, that has numbers, and that actually can help people interpret the data. I cannot stress enough times the frustrations of managing directors or CEOs with people who have done months of work presenting data to them and saying, I don't have a clue about what you're talking about. It sounds very good, it looks very good, but help me understand it. So the ability to also translate data into picture, into charts, into numbers, that for people who are used to make decisions very quickly on a daily basis and be accountable for these decisions is a critical factor. So the idea is to help steer the CEO, to help steer top management in the right direction and make insight-based decisions. Because at the end, data is irrelevant if people make no decisions. And not making a decision is a decision in itself, but you have to decide. You have to say, okay, this is fine. We like it as it is. We're not going to do anything else because the picture is perfect. Usually it's not the case. Usually there are decisions, and data is meaningful if you make decisions based on this data. And so we'll leave you with this thought, which is similar to what Jerome has mentioned before. New insights should lead to better decisions. So in order to advocate for decisions, you have to have domain knowledge. So domain knowledge coupled with data insights will help you work with top management to come to better decisions. Thank you very much.